Shut up, Morty. Sorry.
Well, you got that beep down amazingly. That's
Thank you.
exactly what
It's so good.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Actor Behind the Voice. Today we are thrilled to be joined by none other than Mr. Andrew Russell. Andrew Russell is perhaps best known for voicing Luka from Miraculous Ladybug. I know my nieces in particular know him from that because he was very kind and filmed a nice little message for them. They're big fans of Miraculous Ladybug. You might also know him as Boothill from Honkai Star Rail, Calic from World of Warcraft, Identity 5, as well as many other animes and video games across the board because he is phenomenal. He's the most talented Andrew I know, Mr. Andrew Russell. Thank you.
Yay!
Welcome to Actor Behind the Voice.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. We were just talking before I started recording that we have known each other now a decade because we first knew each other and saw each other as we started out in the prestigious role of studio tour guide at Universal Studios Hollywood.
Wow.
10 years ago.
10 years ago. That was, and it's still to this day, one of the most difficult audition processes I've ever been through.
Right. It was crazy to be, and I remember you and I both, like, because we were some of the last of our class to actually start working, because it was such an arduous audition process to then just be on call.
Yep.
And maybe never work.
It's like that's the best case of hurry up and wait I've ever experienced in my life. It's like three weeks to a month of just like go, and then it's like, all right, we'll see you whenever we have time for you. You're like, what? But I got the thing. What do I do? I want to talk about the magic behind the movies.
But here you are now. You were a very, you've done so many wonderful, great and amazing things. You're so kind to your fans as well. As I just mentioned, my nieces, big fans of Miraculous Ladybug. I think I texted and told you, and in 5 minutes you'd sent back a video with Luka's picture and you were talking to them using their names. That caliber of just being there for the fans is so cool. They're just, their minds were blown. So personally, from my own personal standpoint, first of all, thank you for being such a decent human being as well, not letting that fame go to your head, as it were.
Well, the thing is that none of what we ever get to do doesn't exist without the people who watch it. You know what I mean? So the least you could do is, try your best to be there. I mean, obviously you can't always be there for every person that reaches out, but just being able to, if you have a moment or if you have spare time, if you're at a convention, if you're saying hi to somebody and they are excited, it's it lights me up just as much as it lights them up. It's so cool to even be a part of something like that. So why not?
Well, I'll start things off by asking you what I ask most people, which is, of course, how did you get started with voiceover? When we first met 10 years ago at Universal, were you doing voiceover at that point?
A little bit. So I'm sure you and me are alike in that we've always done voices. We've always done impressions. We've always kind of practiced that stuff. When I was in 7th grade, it dawned on me when I was playing a video game that the person behind the mic was actually a person. The characters were real people. I was like, oh my gosh, wait a second. This is blowing my mind. This is crazy. And I kind of got into doing impressions and working on my voices then. So from way back then. And then I got into theater because that was kind of an avenue. I needed to act. I needed to do something because I figured out that I needed to act. But then I kind of fell out of the voiceover thing and fell in love with theater. And I did theater for a long time. I went to school for it. And I kind of just was so engulfed in theater and musical theater and doing all this stuff. As actually, while we were, we did the tour guide thing at Universal 10 years ago. I booked a really big musical and I went on tour with a show called Jersey Boys.
That's right. I remember. Yeah.
And so I left for a year and some change. And while I was touring, I was man, this is awesome. I love touring. But at the same time, I'm I've been doing theater off and on in various different ways, doing regional theaters, doing shows, at theme parks, and doing, random gigs around town, and now this Broadway tour. And I was like, this is great, but I feel like I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to be in my 40s, 50s, like trying to book another tour that's going to take me to, Toledo, Ohio, it's just like, whatever. Like, I don't really want to do that for the rest of my life. I don't want to keep fighting for this. So I need to find something that's like still something I love, still something that I'm passionate about and can bring my experience to. But like, what do I do? And I discovered that we were in Los Angeles, which is like one of the biggest hubs of voiceover in the world. And I'm like, all right, like I love video games. I'm obsessed with video games. Why don't I do the voiceover thing? Like, I could do all these voices and impressions. So I started researching it while I was on tour. And when I got back to town, I went full in. Like, I started diving in. This is like 2016-ish, and learning. And then over the course of the next like year or two, I got myself an agent. I got my demos. I got everything going. And then, by 2019, I was full time and just going after it. And then that's when I left all the, previous stuff that I was doing and just kind of dove right in. Obviously, there's jobs that came earlier. Like, I got like, I meant like full time, like not doing anything else other than voiceover. Whereas before, like I got into like Miraculous, and I started doing some smaller games and some of the stuff. But as I'm sure we'll talk about, like, you're still growing, you're still learning, you're trying to figure out where you fit in. So like there was like this window from like 2016 when I started VO to like 2018, 2019, where I was like getting jobs, and then it would be like a month or two, and then I would like get another really big job, and then it'd be like a month, and then a huge job, and then nothing. And then like it's just, and it still is like that to this day. You always will have your ups and downs to your careers and the flow of the work that you get. But like, it wasn't until like 2018, early 2019 that I was like, I'm just doing it. I'm going for it. And it's been good.
How did Miraculous come about?
Oh, that one was straight off of tour. Straight off of my musical tour. I actually jumped in a class, and it was with the casting director of the show. And I had no idea what Miraculous was. But it just so happened that like this is a great example of using other skills and other things that you have in unexpected ways. Like, I went in and I was just like, I just got off tour. I did this thing. He's like, oh, you tour? And I was like, Jersey Boys. He's like, oh, that's awesome. You sing. And I was like, yeah. And, that's what I got a bachelor's degree in, is musical theater. Like kind of thinking, oh, this is VO. This isn't really that realm. But then I started to learn that like, we use a lot of the same instruments as musical theater. I mean, we're using a lot of the same muscles, a lot of the same tools, a lot of the same practices, vocal warm-ups. Even the way that we do scripts is very musical. It's very rhythmic based. If you have good rhythm skills, if you have good timing, it's like so vital for a lot of VO that a lot of people don't even think about. So having all those things is kind of a perfect storm, and it just kind of kept on making more and more sense as time went on. And with that show, they actually, he was like, hey, you know what? We do this thing called dubbing with this program called Rhythm Band. It's like, basically it's like Guitar Hero, but with words and dubbing. Like, it's a fast way of dubbing like live action TV shows into English. And you would see the words coming, and you got to hit those words as they cross the line. And that's pretty much it. So it was like, oh, good. I'm good at Guitar Hero. I could do that. So he was like, if you guys want to come in, let me know. So I was like, hey, I want to come in and try it. Like, he's like, oh yeah, come watch a session. So I went in, later that next week. He invited me in, and I went and watched somebody from Power Rangers do some dubbing. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. I'm watching this. And I was just like, fly on the wall, just kind of like. She left, and he was like, you wanna hop in there and just kind of like see how it feels, give it a go? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, let's give you a character. And like, I don't even know. He like threw me a character that was like a paper boy. I was just like, extra. Like, it was so like, just to see how it goes. And I finished it. And little did I know, he was kind of just seeing where my range could go. Cause he was like, after I did that, he goes, I might have something else for you. There's this animation that I'm doing. there's this character coming out that might sing. He's like a rock and roll sort of guy. He plays guitar. He might sing. And since you sing, like this might be a great opportunity to bring you in. So like, let's come give it a try. And I went in and he just put me in the role and that was it. It was as simple as that. Now it doesn't always happen that way, but like that's just one of those things about just putting yourself out there and just trusting that things will happen. And it did.
That's amazing. So it wasn't a typical like audition from your agent. You just happened to kind of
not that one. Yeah, no, not that one. But like that's just how it works sometimes. It's like you could try your best, and who knows if it had been a traditional way of getting the audition, if it had been a traditional me getting in my head and like overthinking it and trying to make all the perfect choices to do the perfect thing, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. But the fact is I just went in and was just like, I don't know. Like, here's what I think you would sound like. And he's like, perfect. That's it. And I'm like, okay.
Is Luka, is it how close is it to your own speaking voice?
So the way I do Luka is I take all the rasp out of my voice and I just raise it up and kind of mellow him out. So first I just take all the rasp out of my voice and try to make sure that nothing's like coming through. And then like I kind of just shift his attitude. That's like, everything's cool. Everything's grand. And like,
nice.
Just relax, relax into it. But like, it's funny though, most people who hear any of the characters that I do, except for a few like over the top characters, depending on which realm of the world or the games or the anime or the animation that they've heard me from, all they ever hear is that specific character. So like I talk and they're like, all I can hear is this character. It's so funny. So you can always tell where people live and they're like, oh my gosh, all I can hear is Boot Hill or Luka or whatever.
That's funny though, because you do have quite a lot of natural rasp. You've got this like really kind of like gravelly tone kind of thing.
Yeah. Which I bring into other characters. Like I always like to bring the tools and little parts of my actual tone to the characters that I bring in. So there's a lot of characters I have that are graspies, and the ones that aren't are like kind of younger generally.
Has there been any particular role that you are like fond of, or even if it was like challenging? If there was a voice that was particularly challenging, you seem to be nodding your head. I think.
Oh yeah, there's so many. There's so many. Well, there's a couple. There's one in particular that's challenging that I can't talk about yet, but it's amazing, and it was like a dream come true, and I worked my butt off on the character, and I'm so excited. So someday I'll be able to talk to you about that. But
everyone I talk to, they're always like, yeah, I want to talk about this and I can't. It's like we always come up to the NDA.
Time. Yeah. It's just like such a bit. I can't even allude to it because I feel like everybody would know what it is. But it's just it's one of those things where it's like you will get a chance in your life to do something, like everybody out there, to do something where, and I'm positive you can attest to this, where because you did some Loki stuff, right?
Yeah, that's been a lot of Disney stuff in the parks and the countryside and whatnot. Yeah,
that's awesome. So like getting a chance to do a character that like, and you got to like dive into that. It is a challenging thing because you A, want to stay true to the original, and B, you want to make sure that you're not like only just doing an imitation. You got to bring some life and some character and some originality to it as well. So it's kind of one of those things. But anytime you get to do that, that's a fun thing. There was a time a long time ago, in like 2018, before I really started diving into it. I did like an impression, it was a voice match for a small game called Smite, of Invader Zim. It was just me basically doing an impression of Zim. And that was the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, because it was literally just me kind of doing a couple lines from the show as a character. They were doing like a collab, and they just wanted him to do like, it's just like a small game. But like the fact is that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because I got it just off of my impression of him. But like even now I'm like, how did I do that? Like it was so It's so high.
But
And
then,
like,
well, who were you in Jersey Boys? Obviously, you weren't
um,
Valley, obviously, but
yeah. So I actually was a character named Hank, and I played 13 different roles throughout the show, which kind of lends itself to voiceover
oh, okay,
because you're doing all these roles, and like,
yeah,
if you have different lines through each character, you don't want them all to sound like guy number one,
of course.
that. And then I also covered Bob Gaudio, which is the piano player.
That's what I
So
thought.
whenever,
Yeah, I thought you were Bob Gardigo. Yeah, but did you
yeah,
have like some of the higher falsetto harmonies or anything like that?
all of them. So the way Jersey Boys works is from beginning to end, no matter what you do, if you're not one of the four seasons that are on stage, you're doubling their songs. So any of the vocals that you hear from any of the four guys, it's not like an effect on the board. You're hearing the rest of the ensemble sing double, so it gives it that really full sound. The way they traditionally did it was like Frankie Valli and all of them, they doubled themselves, so it gave it that like really intense sound, but they want that live moment thing. So at any point in the show, I was singing Nick's part or Bob's part or Frankie's part on a lot of stuff. I sang a lot of Frankie's stuff in the background while I'm sitting there changing my shirt and stuff. I'm like, man, girls don't cry. Like put my pants on and get dressed.
Oh my
wig on.
gosh.
It's crazy. So from the beginning, actually, whenever I'd go on for Bob Gaudio, one of the main four guys, it was like a break. Like I was like, oh my God, this is so much easier than my regular track, because on my regular track, it was the second the curtain went up to the second the curtain went down, I was active and like going through it. And when I was on for Bob, it was like eating a snack, like 20 minutes into the show, like everybody's doing hard work. And I'm like, these donuts are so good, just waiting. And then, oh, it's almost my time. And then I finally come on halfway through the first act. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a princess track. This is the greatest thing ever.
You and I have I feel like very similar paths in that way, like both kind of deep voices, musical theater background, that kind of thing. And what you were talking about, how you can bring that musical theater training to voiceover, really applies, especially with higher pitched voices, either like Invader Zim or, as my daughter always likes me to do, which is the Mickey Mouse voice.
Yeah.
And but you really have to go into singing training in order to access that, because otherwise it just blows out the voice. Would you be able to do a little bit of it, the Invader Zim sound alike?
I mean, I probably could. Well, first of all, I gotta say that like the whole trick of all this stuff is being able to apply those thoughts. So a lot of like my characters in anime, for example, all are very like gravelly, screamy sort of characters. Yeah. If you're not careful doing that for a long time, I mean, you could just damage yourself, and also you just won't be able to last for 4 hours. If you have to go in and do a 4-hour session and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be doing this the whole time, and you can't keep going, that's when you're going to get in trouble. And for me, a lot of my musical theater training was like rock and roll based. So because my voice kind of lend into that, so like I approach everything from like a rock and roll belting. I don't want to blow out your ears. So instead of like thinking of like a scream, like a blood curdling scream, I come at it from like a belt. So I'd be like, yeah, because like that sort of like,
that's so like, sick. That's so rock and roll though. That's great.
But you do like Tommy used to work on the docks, like you have that like, So if you go like, yeah, and go, like, no, like all of a sudden like that can go through. So the same applies to something like Zim, where it's like, yes, it is I. You just kind of, it's the same muscles, you know what I mean? And like awesome. You just kind of apply it in, and you once you get used to like that feeling, it all just kind of keeps on going. Then you're able to keep going.
It's singing. It's the musicality of the voices. It's getting it off the throat. It's utilizing soft palate, all that singing technique. So that's why I tell a lot of people that want to get in voiceover, I'm like, take singing lessons. Like, and people who do public speaking, and they're like, oh, I keep losing my voice. I'm like, take singing lessons, because
like you're talking with like down here, you're talking like it's like
they're straining here. Yeah, exactly. Going back to Miraculous Ladybug and it tying in as well to the musicality of it all. So it's a dubbed show. It's originally a French show.
Yeah.
So you watch it, you dub it.
Hmm.
So how does that work? Is it similar to ADR where you hear beeps, beep, 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 and then you're in, or do you follow the words on screen like you said, like in like a sort
Kind
of a
of
Guitar Hero type thing?
like that. There's multiple ways of dubbing and doing all that stuff. With that show in particular, they trust the director Ezra so much that we don't even really listen to the original language all that much. Like I barely know what the French Luka sounds like. I don't think I've heard him more than once
That
or
was going to be
twice.
my other question. I was like, have you talked to the original voice of Luca
Uh,
at all?
I think I've talked to the Spanish version of Luca on social media a few times. He's awesome. He's so cool.
Funny.
I don't really know what the rest of them really even sound like because I don't really want them to inform what I do. If you ever watch an anime, any of the animes that we do, a lot of times you get two different buckets. You get an anime where they want it to sound exactly like the Japanese or the Chinese or the Korean or whatever it is, tonally, and speech patterns and sentence structure wise. And the problem becomes Japanese, Korean, Chinese, whatever, they don't have the same speech patterns and sentence structure as we do in English. So it often sounds not great because you get somebody where it's like, da 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 da, like you have that, but it's like, I don't know what you're doing over there. It's like all of a sudden that's when you get these really bad dubs. But when you get somebody that comes in, you kind of erase that and you have this window of time to say, I don't know what you're doing over there. All of a sudden you get less of like a reedy sort of sound. But that all depends on who's directing. That depends on what the studio wants. That depends on the time. That depends on the schedule. Like maybe you guys got to get through 50 episodes in the next, month and you only have 5 episodes of time worth on this day. So oftentimes you get like these really kind of chaotic reads. So for me, I prefer not to hear the other person most of the time, but sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes you have to. It just depends on what the client wants most of the time.
So what
It's
is
really
a
interesting.
typical recording session for Miraculous look like then? Because this is such a unique like show take. It's not ADR, it is dubbing,
Yeah.
it's done a certain way. What does a typical session look like?
The fortunate thing is Ezra has kind of a lot of like say in making it work. So we don't really listen. We listen to scratch track sometimes, and it's like the people doing English scratch track for us, which is nicer than like hearing the French version.
Yeah, is that
Because
just
you
for
kind of get a
timing?
little. Yes, it's for timing, and that's just sometimes. Sometimes we don't have anything, and you'll see, maybe a pre-version of the animation. Sometimes there are characters just like stick figures, like walking around. It's kind of
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah.
But you have the rhythm band there, and the rhythm band is kind of like a Guitar Hero. Like I said earlier, the words are just kind of coming into a little bar here, and you kind of hit the words as they cross,
Yeah.
and then you say them, and you get going, and you just kind of dub the scene, and just hopefully it works out. And sometimes you don't really have more than 1 or 2 takes, and you just got to move on to the next thing.
Has there ever been a moment where the lines come up and it's been like you've got 2 seconds and you've got to say all
Yes.
this?
Yes, all the time. And it's not just with that show, but like when you have a good director that you're working with that can go, oh, nope, that's not going to work. Let me adjust things. And then they can adjust the words to fit the time appropriately for your language. It makes it a little bit more easy to digest
Yeah.
for both me and the audience.
Yeah. So you're not just going because I think
Yeah.
that was part of the issue they did for Speed Racer way back
Yes.
when one of the first dubs was they tried to fit in every single thing they were saying,
Yeah.
and Japanese being so truncated and
Yes.
they can say a lot with saying very little, and then you
Yep.
translate that to English and it doesn't work. So everything
Nope.
they were saying was very quick and they had to get it through. Ha ha ha! It's like insanity, absolute insanity.
Made it kind of iconic though,
It
in a
did,
way.
it did, it did. Very much, yeah. It's a kind of a standalone thing. Talk about the sort of the anime you've done. What stands out in your mind, or what do people know you most from when it comes to anime?
A lot of people know me from a show called JoJo, Diamonds is Unbreakable. I played a character named Akira. Toishi. He's just an evil villain guy.
Nice. Always fun
You
to
know,
play
it's
the
funny.
villains.
Oh, so fun. And it's so interesting here in Los Angeles. A lot of the anime houses have me pegged as this gravelly kind of lunatic sort of character. Um, it's funny because outside of it, I play like Calicos, who's like this world is full of wonder, like this kind of majestic sort of creature, or like Boot Hill, where he's kind of just laid back, you know, and Luka. And then in anime, I'm like, oh yeah, like all the time. I'm like, why, wait, where did this come from? He's like, yeah, come here. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, I guess
I'm
I
also
can
getting
sustain
like
that.
Jack Black vibes whenever you do that as
Yeah,
well. Like,
yeah, yeah. I've there's a bunch of characters that I've voiced in all of anime that kind of give me that Jack Black sort of attitude. This is super fun.
yeah. I wonder if you would
Um,
ever do like a sound alike for Kung Fu Panda or something, or you
oh,
definitely could very easily slot
I'll have to
right
work on
into
it.
Jack Black. Yeah. That was the other thing I was going to ask you. So a lot of the stuff I get is voice match.
Yeah.
It's either Loki or it's a bunch of other stuff. But I've done so much now where it's voice match. Do you do a lot of voice match, or is it all been kind of like original characters?
Mostly original characters.
That's
Voice
great.
matching is, gosh, that's such a skill. I tried a couple times. I think I was called back for like a Mark Wahlberg thing or like a Jack Nicholson thing
Hmm.
way back when. But there's been a few times where like, you know, you get voice matches for like new movie for Jack Quaid. But
Oh,
it's always, you know,
the one where you can't feel pain. That one.
yeah. But like, you know, it's always an interesting thing that voice matching. It's such a skill. It's the same thing. It's like it's musical. It's timing. It's the way to you
Yeah.
can you hear their patterns, their speech patterns, all that stuff, etc. Yeah, no, I mostly do original kind of character work, a lot of character driven, even in commercials, like when I've done stuff for AT&T or you know Verizon or Amazon. I'm always like the character, like the guy who's like at the door with his dad, or the paper boy, or the newspaper guy, or like the truck driver who's stuck in the snow and needs help, you know, and it's like
Hmm.
kind of animated more than anything. That's kind of what I have a specialty in, which is pretty fun.
You must have by now met the rest of the Miraculous cast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
but
course.
like, how long did that take for you to actually meet everyone?
Not very long.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I thought it was one of
Yeah.
those things where you were just never in the same place.
Well, no, pretty quick. Shoot, was it San Diego Comic-Con within the first year? We did a whole Comic-Con panel together, and there was a whole bunch of us there, and it was fun. We just chatted along, and everybody's very sweet. Everybody's like, ah, gosh, they're all rock stars. Everybody in the cast is just so sweet. We're really lucky in that regard because a lot of times we don't get to meet. You're right about that. Like we're just kind of off in our own little voids, recording in our secluded space by ourselves. Sad.
In your experience of doing voiceover and times, is there something that stands out in your mind from your time of not just like, oh, this that was a great, and if I'm remembered for nothing else, I hope it's that, or if it stands out in your mind as like oh, that was such a task, like, oh my gosh, like that was.
Of course. I mean, I feel like there's so many moments where, I mean, the cool thing, I guess, while Miraculous is on my mind, is getting to go to conventions and meet people. I mean, you get to meet people. It's at the point now, because I started doing that in like 2016, 2017, where I've almost been doing that for 10 years off and on. You know what I mean? Like I started that such a long time ago. I get people who come up and they're like, between this and all these games and all the things that you're in, I've been following your career, and like, you're the voice of my childhood. And I'm like, that's weird. Like,
Already.
yeah, I'm like, wait a second, dude. Like, I'm not, I've only been doing this for like not even 10 years, almost 10
Well,
years.
I guess, yeah, because I guess all we'd have to have is like a 20-year-old,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's
And
exactly it. I get these
there you go.
college age students, you know, 20 years old, 21 years old, coming up to me saying I voiced their child. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess if you started watching all my stuff when you were 10, that's half your
Yeah.
life. That's
Yeah.
crazy to think about. It's very like
Wow.
mind boggling, and what a cool experience that is to be a part of something like that and have a profound part of people's lives on the other side of the world without even knowing, like
Yeah.
I guess it's like you don't really understand the impact or the reach of the things that you get to do. And, sometimes the impact, there was one lovely mother and her, I think it was her sister and then her daughter who was nonverbal, autistic, and just had, I was having a really hard time. And the mom came up to me and said all this stuff. She's like, "This is my daughter. She's dressed as Ladybug for starters. She's like 5 years old." And she says she's like, she's nonverbal. She doesn't really speak. But whenever Luka talks, she listens. And sometimes she like mimics what he says on the screen, like tries to. It blew my mind. I was like, oh gosh, that's like the craziest thought to think that. So, but also part of me, I'm like, you're just saying that. You're just saying that. And, like you're just trying to make me feel good. You're trying to put. And so I was like, oh, and I was like, what's her name? And I don't recall her exact name at the moment, but I said her name, but I did it in Luka's voice. I was like, hey, how's it going? And I said, you're an extraordinary girl. And I said, and this little girl's little eyes just looked at me and she just froze and was like, recognized that was my voice. And like, just for that moment, just to see her little eyes, like it was just such a heart. Like the mom started to cry, I started to tear up, like almost like what has happened? Like the fact that this happened and like she came back and like, like just giving her a picture and getting to take a picture with her just for that small moment of that person's life and that small moment of my time is something that perhaps they can carry that forward for who knows how long, maybe for just that moment, maybe they'll be able to carry it further. But like, that was so impactful to me to get to experience that because we strive to, in any of what we do, in acting in general, elicit emotion in the human experience in the people that we are doing shows for. And if we can go on and tell a story and affect somebody, whether that is good or bad, if you're playing a bad guy, you affect them in a bad way. If you're playing a good guy, you affect them in a good way. Whatever it is, they leave that theater thinking. And that's our goal. If we can make them think, if we can challenge them in some way, whether that's positive or negative or whatever, you've done your job. And in that respect, it's so hard in the voiceover world to see that result. It's hard for me to go in and do a thing and understand that might mean something to somebody who is overseas in Australia or, like who's hasn't seen their parents in 2 weeks and the only thing they can do is occupy their time by watching Miraculous Ladybug, and they happen to really identify and love the character that I get to play in that show. And it's like that sort of impact is so unseen from my point of view that getting to witness that is just kind of a mind-boggling like wave of like, what? That's such a weird, like I never thought that that's what this career would be. And it's been such a great gift. And it's not just that, it's in lots of games that I'm in. It's lots of animes. Like people come up to me from a variety of different things, from projects that I did that are big or small. And they're like, this thing that you did carried me through my hardest time in high school. Like that is so profound. It's such a crazy thing to think about, but it's so cool. And what a gift and what a privilege to be able to get to do that.
Do you ever have imposter syndrome?
All the time.
Yeah. Does it help or does it not matter like how often people say like how great, how wonderful, impactful? Is that imposter syndrome always just?
It's always going to be there. I think, it, because at the end of the day, we're all just human. We all just like, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy trying to do my best. I'm trying to make a living, trying to provide for my family, trying to do what I love in life. But it is always going to be a bit of like when people are saying these things, it is a bit like I'm so thankful and happy that what I did could affect your life for that. But it is kind of like, but I'm just a dude. Like it is always going to be that way.
I feel like that's the artist's curse, or like, it's just I don't know. It always is like they say like even if some people have won an Oscar and then they get that Oscar and they go, oh, they're just giving these away now. Like they're giving them to me. They're just I feel like it never goes away. Is there something that you've auditioned for that you're like, here we go, this is it. I'm gonna and then you didn't get it.
Uh-huh.
You're still just like,
Oh yeah.
this day. What was it?
Yeah. There's so many. I can talk about Rick and Morty. I auditioned for Rick and Morty.
Oh, for the replacement
Yeah.
Rick voice.
And
Oh,
Rick, man, I swear, like I worked my butt off on that
bet.
audition. I'm not even kidding you. I probably spent 80 hours recording a whole bunch of just off, like, because there were several scenes, and I just wanted it so bad, and
of course.
like
That's
I got all the
iconic.
nuances, and I got everything. Like I didn't really have the Morty down, but the Rick, I thought that I had it. I thought that I had it down really well, and at the end of the day, the guy they got is fantastic, and he's doing a great job, and whatever.
Of course, of course. It's
getting
always
through,
it's always going to be the guy that they went with. We're always going to pay homage and respect to that.
yeah, he's
But
phenomenal.
there's no way I can be an interviewer and talk about this without doing the poke the. Could you do that?
Yeah. Shut up, Morty. Sorry. Something like that. I don't even remember his lines.
Well, you got that beep down amazingly. That's
Thank you.
exactly
It's so good. I haven't done it in like a year and a half since I auditioned for it because I went to town. But the sides were like a mile long, and it was a lot of work. But that was one of them. And there's been a couple other ones since that are just like amazing characters that like I will spend all my life trying to get that character down to the best I can. And at the end of the day, you do the best you can do, and the powers that be will do what they do to either make it happen or not. And at the end of all of it is like you worked your butt off to the point of like I can still tell you to this day. For the three ones, including that Rick and Morty one that I've done that I just didn't get. I still don't technically know if I didn't get the one that I just auditioned for, but I don't think I could have put more into it. You know what I mean? And that's all that matters to me. It's like, I gave it what I could, and it's not like I left anything on the table, because there has been some auditions where I'm like, I could have done a little bit more research on that. I could have really gave it more oomph, more time, more precious energy. But with these ones, no, I left no cards on the table as far as what I think my ability could do. And I think I nailed it. But there's also, which I want everybody who's watching this to be like super clear on, there's so many other things that go into casting other than you being perfect for the role. You might be perfect for the role, but there's a billion other circumstances that will prevent you from getting said thing. And most of the time, as long as you just go in, you lay it on the table, you do what you can, you think, hey, this is as good as it's gonna be. Like I think this is perfect. That's all you can do, because there's so many other circumstances that could prevent you from getting the role. You don't want your performance to be that. So I want my performance to be like, yeah, this guy passes, but we got so and so and so. You don't want it to be like, oh, not even close, because then you're just taking yourself off the table. At least I think I was on the table at some point, and something might have happened along the way to take me off. And it wasn't my audition or my lack of understanding of the character or my lack of effort put into it, because I put a lot of effort into it. And I think that's what I want to encourage everybody to always do, is just give it your all and just let it go. Because at the end of the day, what do you do?
Well, Andrew Russell, thank you so much for joining us on Actor Behind the Voice. So if you didn't know the actor behind the voice of Luka and many others, and Boot Hill and whatnot, now you do. It is Andrew Russell. Once again, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us here, an Actor Behind the Voice.
Absolutely.
Final things you want to say?
Don't suck. No, I'm just kidding.
I love it. Andrew Russell, thank you so much, mate. Really
Bye, everybody.
appreciate it.